Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia the Capricorn.
I'm Derek the Pisces.
Guess I should have said I'm Jamie the Taurus. Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over our signs in horror movies.
It's all a
How
sign.
are you, fellow signs doing today? Astrological signs.
Doing better. I've been sick all week, so I'm like just trying to get over this. It's driving me insane, honestly.
Feel ya.
I made it through the day, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Derek, I like your shirt, man. It's really red. You remind me of the Kool-Aid Man.
Thank you.
Not when you do that. I don't know what the fuck that is.
See, this is why he wears white shirts all the time, Jamie.
That's right.
Yeah.
That way I'm not distracting.
You kind of look like you kind of have some Spider-Man moves going on.
That's what they call me.
You know, Miggs in this is kind of like Spider-Man for a scene. He shoots some
Oh my
web.
gosh.
Oh my god. When that happened, I had not. You know what? We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, which I told Quincy that, and she was like, "A kid? You saw this movie as a kid?"
We'll talk about it. But before we do, let's start every week like we do and go over the horror news. So guys, I've got some interesting stuff. Let's start with this one. I'm interested to see what you guys think about this. So, the Crow reboot starring Bill Skarsgård has a release date, and it's July 7th of 2024. The plot is The Crow. Its soulmates Eric Draven and Shelley Webster are brutally murdered when the demons of her past catch up to them. Given the chance to save his true love by sacrificing himself, Eric sets out to seek merciless revenge on their killers, traversing the worlds of the living and the dead to put the wrong things right. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
Coming out this year? Real quick.
July. Yep.
Man.
I guess that's about right, I guess. I'm excited to see it.
I hold the original really close to my heart. I love the original. Like, it's one of my favorite movies. I hope they do it justice. That's all I can say. I'll be disappointed if they don't.
Well, this has been gestating for a long, long time. This movie
long time.
It had several different actors attached to it. I mean, at one point, I think Jason Momoa was attached to be the Crow.
Yeah.
Who else was there? Yeah. There was tons of them. This went through like the ringer. What do you guys think of Bill Skarsgård being Eric Draven, though?
He's got the build.
I agree. I agree. I think he's got the physicality in the right slenderness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he definitely does. Now, I mean, he's no Brandon Lee, but I think he'll do great. He did really well with Pennywise, and I didn't see that coming. So
yeah, he's got a new Sam Raimi movie. Sam Raimi produced movie coming out called Boy Kills World, which looks very interesting. It's an action movie. Where
I think you talked about it.
Yeah, he is a deaf mute who is gaining revenge on avenging like the deaths of somebody. Kind of like The Crow, I guess, but looks like a stylized action movie. Looks fun. Hayden Panettiere is starring in a thriller called Amber Alert for Lionsgate. It is actually in post-production. In the thriller, an ordinary rideshare becomes a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The story will follow Jack, which is Hayden Panettiere, who is eager to get her first day at a new job, and her driver, Shane, who is just trying to earn a little extra cash as a side hustle. An alert of a child abduction on their phones will change that when they discover they are behind a car that matches the description of the kidnappers. Unable to let a possible child trafficker escape, they begin pursuit. They'll put their own lives at risk. Sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good plot, a pretty cool plot idea.
I am anxious for her to kind of get back in the limelight or the spotlight. She has kind of had a bit of a break.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I guess she was in the
she was in
in
Scream.
Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she like her career, it
Well,
seems like
didn't
it's
she have like a
headed in the
TV
right
show?
direction.
She
Oh, she
did.
had a couple of them.
Yeah, and then she took a break.
Oh.
I think she had a kid and took a break.
Mm-hmm.
And then now she's doing this. She did Scream and now this. It sounds good, I think. It's a cool,
Yeah, I think it sounds
cool little thing,
pretty
right?
good.
Guys, this is
Should
cool.
be lots of fun.
I just thought I should mention this. But Derek, you ready to feel old?
No,
Joe Dante's
No.
The Burbs just turned 35.
motherfucker.
Now, The
I'm
Burbs
taking
is
you
a
off my
classic
Christmas list.
that we'll have to cover on the podcast one of these days.
And when we do, we need to invite Dan.
Yes, we'll have a special guest for that one. My good friend and coworker Dan is the biggest Burbs fan that's ever lived, so he'll join us for
Nice.
that episode. But that's great. I mean, I love the Burbs. That's a little bit of a spoiler for that episode, but I love it.
Who doesn't love the Burbs?
I have an autographed Joe Dante picture over there from the Burbs. So just thought you guys would get a kick out of that, and Derek would feel depressed. Moving on. This is cool, guys. Barbara Crampton is going to be in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Check this out. This is cool. Never mind, I guess. Oh, there it is. Here she is. Look, young Barbara Crampton. Which looks exactly like now Barbara Crampton because she's ageless.
She's got the Paul Rudd syndrome.
She does. I mean, she's stunning still. But that's going to be great, right? I love Barbara Crampton.
Yeah.
We have to do Reanimator sometime soon as well because it's a classic. But she will be playing her character. Is obviously a survivor, so you'll have to control her to survive or try to get her. Dude, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game is interesting. It's fun to be on both sides. It's really intense to be the survivors trying to escape.
Mm-hmm.
And to be the family, it's way easier because it's more stakes are lower. If they get away, they get away. You know, if you don't get away, you die as a survivor. But I'll tell you, the cook, fucking hate being the cook in that game. He's awful. He has like
Why?
a little. He has like a little. His weapon's like a little cane or something. I haven't played it in a while, but he just sucks. He can hear everything, and he's good for that sort of thing. But God, if you try to corner one of the survivors, they're gonna get away because he sucks. So. This bit of horror news is very important, guys. Jenna Ortega has teased her Beetlejuice sequel character. She is playing Lydia Dietz's daughter, Astrid.
Oh.
I mean, I think we knew that she was going to play her daughter.
We figured. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those, one of those things. She says, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but I'm Lydia Dietz's daughter, so I'll give that away. She's weird, but in a different way. And not in the way you'd assume, I would say. The relationship between Lydia and Astrid is very important. It's also really strange because it's a lot of catching up and putting the pieces together of what's gone on in Lydia's life since, which was nice, I think, for everybody who loves the characters and excited to see them again. So
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It's I'm excited. She says to bring Beetlejuice back of all the stories is so good because people need to revisit weird, strange, and off-putting stories again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beetlejuice is great. We haven't done it for the podcast. That might be one we need to hit up around Halloween time, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely a Halloween
I loved
vibe,
the cartoon,
right?
man.
Oh, yeah.
The cartoon was
fun.
my jam. Lydia, do you remember the cartoon?
I remember it. I didn't watch it too much.
Oh, man.
I always thought it was really weird
chance.
because my name was Lydia.
It is really weird. I loved it as a kid. I was like all about it.
Yeah.
I was all about it. I was all about They had a Dumb and Dumber cartoon, which was weird. They had an Ace Ventura cartoon. Jim
What'd you
Carrey
say?
I
had 3
remember the
cartoons.
Ace Ventura.
Yeah, Dumb and
I
Dumber,
don't
Ace
remember
Ventura,
that.
and The Mask.
Oh my goodness! I remember the Rambo cartoon.
That was special too. There was also a RoboCop's cartoon.
Back in
And,
the
of
day,
course-
man, it was.
Chuck Norris's Karate Commandos was a thing that
Oh, I do remember vaguely that as well.
awful thing that existed.
Do you guys
Wow.
And then finally,
remember
guys, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Do you guys
No, go
remember the cartoon that was like had like a bunch of like stars, like that were like cartoon stars that were talking about how drugs are bad?
Sounds
And
like a PS.
it
That
had,
sounds like an
like-
after school
it
special.
had, like-
No.
It had Alf.
Oh yeah,
The Alf?
It
I
had
do
Alf,
remember
and it
that.
had like Garfield and the Smurfs
Yes.
and the
Yeah,
Muppets.
it was a very special
just all
episode,
of
like an after school thing. Yes, I do remember that.
that
Maybe
that
I
lives
remember
somewhere
that.
in here.
Yes, I do remember that because they had all those cartoons. You guys remember Heathcliff? Heathcliff kind of
Oh yeah,
he was like a ripoff
remember
of Garfield, kind of sucked.
yeah, I remember that. You
I
know
used to
what?
like him when I was a kid, and then I was like, "Is this fucking just Garfield?" Kind of. I mean,
So I don't know why, because it was mindless dribble. But dude, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It
oh, it's
got me.
great. Yeah, it's
I
great.
love
I
Aqua
loved-
Teen.
I loved Shake, and I loved
Yeah,
Fry and
Master Shake.
Meatball.
Meatwad.
Yeah,
Master
Meatwad.
Shake
Yeah.
is so funny.
Yeah,
Oh
Master
my
Shake
god, I don't know
is.
why.
Frylock's great too because he's just
Yeah.
so serious about everything. And then Carl, who can
Meatwad always
forget
creeps
Carl?
me out.
When I do an impression of Sarah, I do Meatwad, and she hates it. So,
Do it. Do it.
else she'll say, something like, "You need to put this up," and I go, "You need to put this up." She's like, "I don't sound like Meatball Man."
Oh my gosh. So if I cut this portion out and just send it to Sarah, is that okay?
Oh, she'll love it. She knows what it is. And
I'm
then
just
finally,
kidding.
guys, this is really interesting news. Christopher Nolan says he'd love to make a horror movie if he finds a really exceptional idea.
Oh, please, 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 please.
He said
Please.
He said Oppenheimer has elements of horror in it, definitely, as I think is appropriate for the subject matter. He said, I think horror films are very interesting because they depend on very cinematic devices. Really is about the visceral response to things, and so at some point, I'd love to make a horror movie. But
Man, he would be the. Oh, I'm
he
sorry.
says,
Go ahead.
but I think a really good horror film requires a really exceptional idea. He's like, and those are few and far between, so I haven't found a story that lends itself to that. Can you imagine a Christopher Nolan directed horror movie?
Dear God, if he were to do a movie like this, the one we're going to review,
Yes.
man,
Yeah.
I would go to the movies multiple times to see that.
It probably would be a little something like this.
Yes.
It would have to be something. I mean, he's so cerebral in the way he approaches projects. It would have to be something super intricate like this.
I would think it'd be fun to see Christopher Nolan direct a rom-com. See what he could do with it. But no, I mean he made a thriller. He's made, of course, multiple big budget, smart think piece cinema. But he made one of his very
Memento.
earliest movies is Memento is a thriller, but the one with horror elements is Insomnia with Al Pacino and Robin Williams and Hilary Swank.
I've never seen that movie.
I've never
Really?
seen that
It's a
either.
great movie. It's a great movie. So I think a straight horror film, something like Seven or this,
Mhm.
I think he would.
Seven
Yeah.
would be really cool.
Yeah. And that wraps up this edition of Horror News. Yeah. So guys, tonight we're gonna dissect Jonathan Demme's 1991 masterpiece, Silence of the Lambs. I mean, this thing was huge, guys. It won 5 Oscars. sweeping the major categories: Best Actor, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Picture, and Best Screenplay.
So before we get started,
Mhm.
did you guys know that Anthony Hopkins is a serial killer masking around as an actor?
No, I did not know that.
Did you guys know that? Oh
I
my
don't think you
God,
know
he
it
is
either, by the way you described it.
masquerading around as an actor is what all right, I might have botched it, okay? I thought about it and I got it. I botched it. You're
It
mean.
happens. Execution
But
sometimes. You were like the
it does not.
49ers. You had a good game plan, but you just couldn't execute it. But
Whatever.
really, you're looking more like Patrick Mahomes over there with your red, to be honest.
I mean,
If you're going to
49ers
be
have
somebody,
red
be the
too.
GOAT.
I guess.
So, let's talk about Silence of the Lambs. This isn't any of our first time seeing this, I know that. But let's start with you, Derek. What was your first time watching this movie?
So I made a comment to my wife about how I haven't seen this movie in a really long time, and like the first time I saw this movie, this came out in what 1990, you said, or 91?
1991.
I mean, it was early night. I was way too young to watch this movie, and I didn't really appreciate it at the time because I just wasn't mature enough to truly understand what I was watching. Which probably is a good thing, man, because Lecter can give you nightmares.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was really young, and I've seen this movie a couple of times. I mean, it went into syndication on TV, and so you could watch it, once a year at least somewhere on TV.
AMC used to air it.
AMC, yeah. I was thinking TBS at some point.
Lydia, how about you?
Yeah, I've seen this movie a couple times. I feel like I watched it like by myself for the first time that I watched it. Like just in my room and being like really like moved by these characters like Clarice.
Yes.
Just, I mean, the performances in this movie are just so good. And
Oh
the
my
mood and
gosh.
the tone of it, like just really cozy, kind of scary movie.
Yeah, I like you, Derek. I watched this when I was way too young. I remember watching this at my parents', and like they covered my eyes in certain spots, but like I remember being like just enthralled with like this with Hannibal Lecter. I thought he was like terrifying and like really interesting. And I remember being absolutely confused about Buffalo Bill because I didn't know what was going on there. And I was confused about like what was going on with his clothes, with the skin. I didn't know what was going on with that. I was too young. And then of course I've seen this movie a lot of times. Like I don't even know how many times, but a ton. So like you said, there's a specific tone that we'll get into about it. But upon watching it this time and the last time I watched it, Sarah and I watched it together during the pandemic, I think. And you notice like certain things about this movie that kind of as a hallmark for the thriller genre now, and also things that they just don't do anymore. Like they don't make movies like this anymore. So they do, but not as strongly as they made this one, pretty much, So yeah, let's talk about like you started talking about the performances, Lydia, and the performances are aces across the whole board. Of course, we'll start by talking about Jodie Foster as Clarice Starling. She's our protagonist, and we quite literally see this movie through her eyes. Jonathan Demme was very particular about showing multiple shots of people looking straight down the barrel of the camera, as if we're looking through Clarice's point of view. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But guys, Jodie Foster's a revelation in this movie. She's awesome.
She really is. She's so relatable and like I don't know, there's just something about her. She's got it.
She's
Whatever
very
it is.
natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that she really did complement especially Anthony Hopkins in this Hannibal Lecter. Because as extreme as he is, she is this, and I don't want to call her frail, but she seems like she's frail. But she is determined beyond belief
And tough,
to,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, in everything that she does. And so it's a great, it kind of flips it on its head because she's so unassuming, yet she is driven and she's confident. Well, I mean, there's parts of it where she's not super confident, and she's growing. I mean, she's in the academy. She's not yet become an FBI agent.
Right. This is their first case. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the scene where she is being initially interviewed, like, "Hey, Starling, I want you to go in and visit Hannibal Lecter," and he was like, "You grilled me really hard." So he knew that like she was very sharp, and she was, you know,
Yeah. Jack Crawford,
he
played by
saw
the
the
great Scott
potential.
Glenn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's also terrific.
He is.
But
There's not a
what's
bad
great?
actor in this freaking movie, and
No. And what's great about Clarice and their characterization is, you talked about her determination, but she is unassuming, but she's also a female in this male-dominated world, and
mm-hmm.
she is. I mean, there's a bit where, Jack Crawford, says, "Hey, there's some crime, some of the sexual nature to this. Do we not want to discuss it in front of the lady?" And you could see her react, and then he points it out later, like
Yeah,
that upset you, kind of thing. Like, I just
that
want to
really
see how you
burned you,
react.
didn't it? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And the scene in the autopsy where she's doing it, some of the best acting and of hers, because she's mortified, scared, disgusted, and intrigued all at the same time. And it's just a great performance. And then throughout the whole all of her scenes with Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, when she starts to show just different shades of emotion, is incredible. Let's talk about Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. I mean, what is there to say about it? It's one of the best on-screen performances.
I mean, I don't know who you could put in the shoes of Hannibal in this movie and them do it just like, I mean, he defined that character. It's his character. It just blew me away.
Except,
I mean, I haven't seen this movie. Go ahead.
He wasn't the first to play this role.
Well,
Brian Cox plays Hannibal Lecter in Michael Mann's Manhunter, which is also a terrific flick, which we'll get into. We'll have to do at some point.
Well, all right. So from my perspective, because I haven't seen that, and that's interesting. I think I knew that. I think you told me.
And you know who Brian Cox is?
No, I just not.
Yeah,
coming
you
up.
do. He's Stryker from X-Men 2.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
and tons of other movies. But yeah,
it'd be interesting to see that.
Super Troopers.
I would say the most chilling thing about his performance is that, unlike other monsters, those types of monsters exist. And that's probably the most scary element of this. You go to a Nightmare on Elm Street movie and you watch it and you're like, it's scary, but it's fiction. There are Hannibal Lecters out there.
Well, what makes his performance so good and chilling is that it's the veneer of politeness that Hannibal Lecter exudes. Like, he is cordial to her, and he's pretty much cordial to everybody in this movie up until the violence starts. You know what I mean? Like, he's cordial, and when she comes in, he's there. It's this chess match when they first meet of he's kind of trying to get into her head, and she's just trying to play it, and because she has no agenda, she's just there to do the questionnaire. And so, Lecter knows there's more to it than that, so he's trying to figure it out. But since she's went in blind, so to speak, she has no idea. But she immediately endears herself to him by telling him what Mig said and all that stuff. And then when let's talk about that scene when we first meet Lecter. So first of all, Clarice meets one of the funniest, douchiest characters of all time, Chilton, who is the psychiatrist nemesis. He is so funny, right? I mean, he's such a creep.
You're talking about
Like,
the head
Yes.
psychiatrist at the
Yes.
He's an egomaniac,
Yes.
and he, like, to him, Lecter's not a prisoner. He's
An
like
experiment. Yeah.
an
zoo
experiment
animal.
because he even makes a comment about how I forget how he phrased it, but like how priceless he is.
Yeah,
'Cause
because
they
he's
caught one.
alive. Yeah, to be alive, caught one alive. But the scene where
caught one
he
alive,
says,
yeah.
"Where you're just, I've had plenty of detectives, but you're the prettiest. Are you staying in town? There's plenty of things to
Mhm.
do in Baltimore." And you're like, yeah, "Right, guy. She's gonna go for
Yep.
you."
Yep.
Have you seen Jodie Foster? She's gorgeous. Get out of here. Next. What do you
And
think of
she's
old
so
Chilton?
professional. Like, she did not want to hear that from anybody, Like,
Mhm.
No,
Well, she's
she's being
working. Yeah.
she's being othered. Yeah, she's wanting to be treated like these other guys are, but
except by the bug guys, which I think she finds them pretty
the,
charming.
the bug guys, the bug guys are like her
Because they're
level.
genuine.
Yeah, they just treat her like one of the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love that.
what do you think of Chilton there, Lydia?
Yeah, I think that guy does a great job of
Oh
playing
yeah, he's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
so cocky and
He's got the
arrogant
weird eyebrows. Yeah, I love when he says, when she says, "Well, maybe I should have gone in there alone," since he sees you as his nemesis. "Well, this could have been approached in my office and saved me the walk." And you're like, "Oh my god!" But then I
But I
wouldn't have
love
had
how
your
she
company.
saves it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I wouldn't have had the pleasure of your company.
yeah.
Like,
That seems like a
okay, so
walk I would have rather taken by
since you
myself,
say
Clarice.
that,
Yeah, well, she knew, he was giving her information, and she knew
Yes.
that she didn't want to be, she didn't want to offend him right off the
Yeah.
bat. So she was just
Yeah.
like, but I don't want you to ruin this for me
Yeah.
if he doesn't like you.
Also, I think you suck.
Yeah, like, yeah, I don't know. I
So
like that she's tough in a way that, like, I feel like women have to do that sometimes, where it's like you have to put on the politeness to, like,
play the
get
game.
your
Yeah.
way, kind of.
Yeah. Play
Kind
the
of
game, and
turn on the
that's
flirt a little bit to get out of a
there's
situation you don't want to
there's
be
a
in.
lot of that in this movie. I mean, that's what a lot of
Hmm.
this movie's about.
Yeah.
And this dynamic between her and Lecter is like phenomenal. Like that first scene that they're together, you're just like, I mean, these actors are acting through a pane of glass, and it's just like this super intimate scene shot with like these terrific close-ups,
Mhm.
between them. These close-ups of her staring down the barrel of the camera, and then him, just with his non-blinking creepy eyes, just staring right at us. But
He looks like an animal when you first see him.
like a lizard, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just like a dangerous predator. Like, he just
Ready to
looks
strike,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
With this veneer of politeness. There's a bit that fucking one part of his performance that cracks me up. I love it. It's so good. When she hands him when he gets the papers and he starts looking through them, and he leans against the glass, and he like gives like a little smile at her as he's flipping through the pages. It's like fucking so good, so
Yeah.
good. Because here's what the movie tricks you into, right? It tricks you into rooting for Hannibal Lecter. Because by the
Yep.
time this movie ends, you're wanting him to escape. Because the performance is so good and he's so charming. You're just like, yeah, let him go free. And he's so nice to Clarice, you're like, yeah, I want him to go free. And then you realize I just rooted for a psychopathic serial killer that eats people, by the way, to get away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's just a testament to the direction and just the performance. It's just
Hmm.
brilliant.
Really is. Yeah. It's
Well,
crazy
and
because I can't think of other examples of, like, actors who have pulled that off other than, like, monsters in monster
Yeah.
movies.
I was
Like,
gonna say Robert Englund probably as Freddy
yeah,
Krueger.
yeah, yeah. But even he doesn't look human. He is, but like, he is clearly looks like a
But you
monster.
see,
Where
but Freddy,
Anthony Hopkins isn't wearing makeup.
Freddy pulls off an even greater task, which is we end up loving him even though we know he murders children.
Right, yeah. That's
But then we're like, let's see more of that.
Yeah.
What were you going to say there, Derek? You're muted. You're muted.
No wonder I couldn't hear you.
Anyway, what I was gonna say before I was rudely interrupted is he's so clinical in the way that he speaks, and I love the scenes where like he's talking to them like a professional doctor, like a psychiatrist, and then he flips it. So the scene with the senator, where he's like giving them information, and then just out of the like blue is just like, did she breastfeed? Did you breastfeed? And you're just like, it like creeps you out immediately, but it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's that little glimpse to like be like, hey, he's not
Yeah.
with it. You know what I mean?
It was like like a snake strike, It's like, oh, it's a little harmless little snake in the grass over here. I'm gonna get information out of it, and then it just like reminds you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the Mig scene now, real fast, since we're talking about it. The scene, because you were thrown off by this, Derek. You forgot this happened. Tell us your reaction.
Oh my God, where where she's walking back. She just had her interaction with Lecter, her first one, and then she's walking back, and you just see this guy on his bed, like making a whole bunch of stuff, and he's like fucking Spider-Man. He's like, hey, and like throws. Oh my gosh, I like cringed, man. I was like, that's disgusting. Dear God. And then she like runs back, and then Lecter gives her a very cryptic message. And see, it's those little things that because he knows like if she doesn't get it, then she's not worthy of his interest. And so the fact that she does get it, I think really infatuates him, like her to him.
Yeah, well, it definitely endears him. Endears her to him. Yeah. Because then at that point she's interested in him. Or he's interested in her.
She's
like, okay, so let's see if she can figure this out. Because he says he can't abide rudeness when he throws the jizz in her face. He's like, whoa, that's even a line that I wouldn't cross,
Yeah, he
Come
felt
back
bad
here,
for her.
I'll throw you this this bone and see where you can go with it. And then when she solves it, she finds not a dick in the box, but a head in the bottle. Which is by the way, another Sting song. You never heard that one. By the Police. Head in a bottle. It's a good one.
Nice.
Which is also a new sex toy I'm working
on. Just don't make it glass.
Oh, so dumb.
I had to go through a couple rounds of R&D to figure that one out.
I've been in the testing phase for 5 years.
I've only been to the doctor twice. Lenny, I'm sorry we went off the rails.
Nobody will get my formula. No one.
It's on top of a Coke bottle, buddy. Anyway.
It's reinforced. Hey, you know what's funny? I gotta mention it. It looks like... So, Derek, you got that green background. Lydia, you got the green background. And it looks like, since there's a red glow coming from your screen, so it looks like you're just staring directly into Derek's chest.
I see where he is. That's hilarious.
So, let's talk about old Buffalo Bill, played by the great Ted Levine, who we've seen previously on the awesome classic film, The Mangler.
Mangler, yeah.
The Mangler.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Old
gosh.
Ted
I forgot
Levine.
about the Mangler.
How could you forget about the
The
Mangler?
laundry.
There was a refrigerator that was possessed by demons. And then,
I
of
forgot
course, a laundry
Ted
press.
Levine was in it.
Yes, he's our main character in it.
I thought it was Robert England was the main character.
Kind of. With his weird crutches and shit.
Yeah,
What a
it kind
what
of steals the
performance. That
show.
movie's wild, too, again. But, yeah, so he's great in this movie.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
really scary.
He scared me more than Hannibal did, I think, probably. Like,
He's-
watching it, maybe not on this watch, but like previous watches.
You know the scene where we first meet him, where he lures the girl into the van.
Yeah,
is
that's
what Ted Bundy,
horrifying.
that's what Ted Bundy used to do.
Yeah,
Yep.
And that's so
That's-
scary.
that is a nightmare. Oh my
Like,
gosh,
just
it's so scary.
weaponizing somebody's kindness.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's got that,
For sure.
he's got that voice, you know.
Oh, the voice is what's really freaky too.
Yeah, he's got that voice, and he just,
It's
is asking
everything.
for help. What?
Yeah. But in this scene, you're right. It is his voice. But like in other scenes that he's in, man, his like the mannerisms that he has, the little like ticks and like the movements of his body
yeah.
and his hands and how he like the body language, it's so scary.
Oh yeah, he's
And-
creepy as all hell, dude.
Yeah.
So, when he's the famous puts lotion on the skin scene.
It's the hose again. Yeah.
That's
it's
the
such
reason I picked this movie, by the way. Because like
Is that scene?
just keep saying that like all the time.
Yeah. It puts the lotion, and it's it because he can't humanize her. Because if
Yeah.
he humanizes her, he can't kill her.
Yep.
So he has to see her as cattle, essentially. And when she starts like humanizing herself to him, when she's yelling at him and has that little fucking creepy dog, it's so wild, right? I mean,
That
it's just crazy.
It is. Yeah. And he's freaking out.
Mhm.
I love the intercut in that specific scene because they think that they've got him,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then like they're intercutting it to the point where both are ringing the doorbell,
Mm.
but it's Starling at his house, and then
yeah.
the FBI is at this other
at the
guy's
end
house.
of the movie.
That,
It's one of the best. It's,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
such a great fake out.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, let's talk about Lecter's escape. Well, first, I want to talk about Clarice silencing her lambs, because that's what this movie is about. She tells this is her best acting in the movie when she tells the
Mhm.
story about the lambs, right? This monologue she gives.
Yeah.
Yes. So good. Oh my gosh.
Like it's just
Yep.
chill-inducing. Just thinking
I-
about it. It's
I teared
so
up.
good. Yeah,
I teared up. I was like, dang, that's a performance right there.
Oh my god, yeah. What say you,
It
Derek?
got me. I had to pause it. I had to
Oh,
like
it's-
stop and walk away for a minute. I was like,
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's I mean, she does a fantastic job delivering that story, and just like her entire journey, because like it delivers it in bits and pieces.
Mhm.
Like
See little
her
bits of
backstory.
flashback. Yeah.
Yep, and it starts after her first meeting with Lecter, where she's going to her car and she's having a flashback of her watching her dad, because he invoked her dad by
Yeah.
like, oh, your daddy was a
Coal miner.
coal
Yeah.
miner.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like her, because she's got a lot of emotion in those memories,
yes.
and you really felt it. Like Jodie Foster did a great job of like bringing that, like it was her story she was telling about this, and it's I don't know, as a farmer, how you're just like, oh, I'm gonna get rid of this kid. Maybe you give her a second chance, man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
no kidding.
trauma.
Yeah.
all
It's
over
a
the
lot of
place.
trauma. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, her story, and him saying that line, and talking about the lambs, did they did they stop? Did you silence your lambs? And that's what the movie is about, is her silencing her lambs, which is such a great metaphor. What's a metaphor?
For sure.
To keep the cows in.
It's also a really cool dynamic, because in a lot of ways, even though Lecter is helping her solve this mystery of who Buffalo Bill is, he's also kind of in that chair and she's on that couch, and he's and it's like an underarching part of this movie, but it's pretty impactful because he's kind of giving her therapy in a way, in a like morbid way,
because he's getting his own devices from it, of course,
for sure,
because he's a narcissist.
Yeah.
Well, and he's been trapped in this cage with like little to no contact other than the dipshit that thinks that he's smarter than Lecter, and he gets his
and Barney, who he likes. The only guy he likes is the orderly Barney.
Barney is nice.
Yeah, Barney's in all three of the Anthony Hopkins Lecter movies, by the way.
Nice.
But because there's a bit where the TV, where the lights come on, and he says, "Thank you, Barney." But guys, Lecter's escaped, so he's moved to the cell, and he has stolen a pin to escape, and we have old Charles Napier as a guard. That doesn't fare too well, guys. Lecter's whole escape scene is phenomenal, right?
Oh man,
all of it.
I don't know that I could do it.
Well, yeah, but you also don't eat human flesh. But
that's a point. That's a fair point.
Yeah. But just the way this whole thing is like shot, the whole way it's like put together, because it's just tension filled. We have, that great shot of him. We have that great shot of him swinging the baton and the blood splattering up on him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kind of like he's a conductor.
Yeah, and he starts conducting. Yeah.
Of the music, yeah.
Yeah, it's so... And then when they come in and see the officer strung up on the thing like a mutilated bat or something. And then there's the one officer that's like hurt. So they're like, let's get him out of here. And they find Lecter in the ceiling. They shoot and he falls down. But it's not him.
Yes.
And it's just such a great bit because the way it's shot. By the way, Chris Isaac's randomly in this scene as one of the SWAT guys.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's like one of the main SWAT guys. Every time I see, like in the hall, every time I see him, I'm like, what the fuck? But the reveal in the ambulance is just one of those like cinematic, touchstone. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely. So good. This is where I get like, I'm like all like buckled in. I'm like, all right, this is where it gets real.
Yeah,
and you're rooting for him, which is crazy.
Yeah, you're rooting for him. Yeah, the movie has tricked you into this point to rooting for this guy, and you kind of don't realize it till the movie's over and you're leaving the theater and you're like, oh, he's out there now. He was where he belonged because he murdered a bunch of people. But the reveal of the face when he rips the face off is so good. What do you think, Derek, of this scene?
Man, there's so many things. It's crazy that someone would go through those lengths to escape, because he pretty much wears. He does wear somebody else's face, but it's also like the way that it all comes about. He is so patient and
the pin,
trying to find the pin. I mean, trying to find the right like moment. Like the guards, they let their guard down.
Yeah, they do.
Because he had ordered a second plate of food, and they come in, and he's got drawings. I'll mind the drawings, please.
Yep.
And he's like,
being
okay.
very
and he
polite.
sets the food down.
Yeah.
Yep. And they think he's handcuffed. And then whenever he latches the guy's wrist,
Yeah.
and that guy knows he fucked up
Yep. He knows
Yeah.
he's
big
done.
time.
Yeah.
He's like, he
Yeah.
got me.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's not, if I had to liken it to an animal, I wouldn't. It's not like any type of big cat or anything like that. Lecter's like an alligator, man. He just
Yeah.
fucking has the patience until he knows that there's no way you're gonna get out, and like this is the moment, and he goes for it. It's
Yeah,
crazy,
strikes.
and and it's so smart the way that it all kind of unfolds.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
great. It's such a well directed scene. Jonathan Demme. Let's give him some flowers here because he directed a phenomenal movie. I mean, it's so tight and you're so engaged the entire time. You're never your attention never wanders. You're
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
you're paying attention because every shot is framed a specific way. The camera movements are interesting enough that you're invested, but most importantly, the characters are so compelling that you want to follow them.
Yeah.
And
And they're so complex that they make
mhm.
you think about
Yeah.
so many things about life, which is
Mhm.
just, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Flowers.
it's great. And so let's talk about this third act because you touched on it briefly, Derek. Well, we'd be remiss to not talk about uh, Buffalo Bill dancing to Goodbye Horses. Derek's favorite scene in cinema history.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Whenever I hear that song, it's a split between this scene and the scene from Clerks 2.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Recreating it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. One of the things that you take a little bit differently, having any type of exposure or like insight into like mental health and things like that, because there's a line that Lecter delivers at some point. He was like, "Our boy wasn't born this way; he was made this way."
yeah,
And he obviously is dealing with whatever he's dealing with to turn him into this monster. But like, this is just like when you watch this scene, it's easy to just throw it away like, "Oh, this guy's crazy," but like he's just an unstable person. I don't
yeah.
know. Is that making
I
sense?
mean, well, yeah. There's something to be said about the fact that I mean, he is not literally comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah.
So he wants to be in somebody else's skin. And I mean, he probably in now times would be able to transition, which is what it seems like he should do to begin with, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, and he
Well, he
probably
says,
so is he the son whenever she gets to the house and he's like, "Oh, I think she doesn't live here anymore. There was a seamstress, but I think she had a son." I'm assuming he was the son
yeah,
yeah,
because
I
he's
kind of
got
was thinking that too.
a seam, like he knows his way around a sewing machine,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
lives at that house. So I'm
What
thinking that was his mom.
Yeah.
what were you going to say, Lydia?
Well, he was saying that Lecter was saying that he's not like a true
True. Yeah.
whatever the correct terminology is. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly. But he said, he's probably been to all the doctors in the area, and they probably all turned him down because he is
Yeah.
mentally ill and not
Yeah.
truly,
Yeah.
a
A trans. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I didn't want to get the terminology wrong, like offend the
Yeah,
entire
yeah.
internet.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's true because it was he obviously has severe mental disorders. He's murdering people and wearing their skin.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
But that's why I think he's not comfortable in his own skin. Like he obviously had some childhood trauma of some sort.
Hmm.
He's clearly like just his mannerisms. He's like this big guy with these weird mannerisms. Like he's
Hmm.
just trying to figure out how society works. I feel like how his human body works. Even he's just demented. And this third act when you talked about it, Derek, the crossfade between the fake out of them pursuing what they think is, because Clarice gets left behind, and they are going to pursue and take out Buffalo Bill. And, they ring the doorbell, and it smash cuts to Clarice ringing the doorbell and Buffalo Bill answering it, which is James Gum, right? Not his name, James Gum? Something like that. And this scene is so intense. It's the precursor to the scene in Zodiac, which we'll have to talk about Zodiac eventually. But
I love Zodiac.
Yeah, this scene's so tense, right? Like this whole bit, because we know she's in there with the killer. We know,
Yep.
and we're just like, Clarice, watch your back. And he's just being, like, do you want something to drink? Just being all creepy, and he's wanting to get her, lure her away so he could either get her away or he could kill her. And then when she goes in and sees the diamonds on the dress, she knows.
Yeah.
She sees that at the other lady's house.
That's
She
right.
sees she sees that exotic moth.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Land.
The moth. Yes.
And then she knows. Like,
she knows.
oh,
and so there's that cat and mouse
and it's like
where she knows and she's trying to keep her cool, and then he, she draws the gun, he takes off.
Yep.
And then we get that night vision scene in the basement.
By the way, I have to say, those moths would scare me so bad.
Death head moth? Yeah.
Just any moth in general. I do not like how big they are, and I do not like them fluttering around. No offense to the bug people. I can respect them from a distance, but if one of those things flew in my house, I would not be okay.
I feel like there should be a spin-off with the bug people. It'd be like fucking Lone Gunman or something.
Yes. I would watch that.
Yeah. But yeah, this third act in the basement, what do you guys think? Night vision. Derek.
Iconic.
It's super scary because you are at your absolute most vulnerable if you're Clarice.
Mm-hmm.
You're in an unfamiliar place in literally pitch dark. I mean, they're underground, like they're in the basement, and this basement's elaborate. There's no light. You are absolutely vulnerable. And then you've got this predator who has night vision goggles and can see everything, and he's like so close to her, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine a more scary scenario to be in.
The scene
Except
where
someone had your head underwater.
Yeah, when he reaches for her, that's so you're like, oh.
Yeah.
He's just like toying with her. Like he knows that he has her trapped, and he can do whatever he wants. She's so small compared to like everyone.
Yeah, especially him. Yeah.
And he's like, she's the only one that knows about me, so.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna take her out.
I'll just take her out.
And then
she hears the girl in the well.
Yes.
Who has the dog, and she's screaming, and it's like she's like,
he's
you need
really
to be
pissed
quiet.
when she takes that dog. He's really pissed when she takes that dog.
That's a good strategy, though.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And then so he guns her down, or she guns him down. Which is just so intense and great.
She hears the trigger, the hammer.
The hammer, him cocking the gun, and she spins around and wastes him.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
which is just a testament to her training and her dedication.
And we know because we see her literally training through throughout the first part of this movie, just different times she's training. I mean, we open with her training. And so the after he's dead and everything's the girl's saved, Clarice receives a phone call at the ceremony, and it's from Dr. Lecter, and he asks her if the lambs have been silenced.
And
then says the greatest line, don't worry, Clarice, I'm not coming for you. We're good, basically. We're good. I'm not coming for you. You and I, we're kindred spirits. We're good. But I'm having an old friend for dinner. And we see Chilton getting off the plane. You're like, oh, and then you're kind of like, yeah, let's go to the Adventures of Hannibal Lecter, and you're like, oh wait.
You know, and it's great that he reassured her that, but she had already had a conversation with her friend, and he was like, "No, he's not going to come for me. That's not the relationship that we have." Like,
yeah,
she knew that was not the next play.
yeah.
And
he reassures her
awesome.
of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Because of course she knows that he's escaped. Everybody does, and he's just away. We see him put on like his hat, you know, and he has like fake hair. Puts on his cool hat and then like walks into the crowd of people, and we end. What do you guys think of this ending?
Pretty good.
It is pretty good.
Yeah, it rules.
Yeah,
it rules.
Mm-hmm.
That's Silence of the Lambs. You guys want to talk anything else that we missed? You want to talk about?
I think we
hit all the highlights, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah,
I'm ready to rate this movie.
All right, Derek, go ahead and rate it. I dare you.
I'm gonna rate it, and you don't even know what I'm gonna rate it until I tell you.
I do too.
I know what you're gonna rate it.
It's a stone cold 10. This movie is a 10. This movie is a 10 plus. It's legit, man. It is everything that a suspenseful horror movie should be. Like, it's on par with Jaws. I mean, with Jaws. I can't. The acting in this movie, just by itself. I mean, if this was not the movie that it is, the acting in this movie is just next level, and that's a testament to the awards that this movie got.
Yeah.
But there's not a single person in this movie that like lets it down. Everybody did their part, and they did really well in it. Yeah, it's 10.
What do you think, Lydia?
I'm gonna give it a 10. It's a good movie.
Well,
I recommend it.
Great analysis.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Good movie. What am I gonna say? Yeah, I was thinking I'm gonna give it around a 7. I'm just kidding.
You're such a liar.
Kidding. It's a 10.
Right.
The movie's phenomenal. Yeah, it's up there with Jaws. I mean, I would say Jaws and this are the two best movies that we've reviewed on, and of course, John Carpenter's Halloween are the 3 best movies we reviewed on this podcast. It's phenomenal. The writing, the directing.
And I picked all 3 of those. No, I'm just kidding.
I picked Halloween and Jaws. Don't even.
What one in there, Derek?
You did. You know, there's a step up his game. He's picking like Lumberjack Man and shit.
Whatever. Don't make me pull up the view counts.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this movie is 10. Like stone cold. We didn't talk enough about the writing. This movie's based off a book, of course, by Thomas Harris, which is a sequel to Red Dragon. And the screenplay was written by Ted Talley. And this script is like just phenomenal. I actually have this script. I've read this script.
Really?
It is oh yeah. I mean, it won Best Adapted Screenplay. And so the script, there's certain scenes that are obviously not in the movie. They give a little more context that were cut for pacing issues. But this script is such a great adaptation of the book. It's like, so it just fleshes everything out perfectly, gives you all the great scenes you need. The dialogue is super crisp. Yeah, this is a great script. It's a good read. So we need to give him his flowers as well. Because like I said, it swept the big 5 categories of the Oscars that year. Which is like just, it's a horror movie. You know what I mean? Winning an Oscar for Best Picture. It should have happened in 1973 with The Exorcist, but whatever. Also should have happened in 75 with Jaws, but whatever. It's like that's my
right, Marv.
Yeah, no. It's my Joe Pesci from Lethal Weapon. Whatever.
Weapon, yeah. Whatever.
Whatever. Like, fuck you in the drive-thru. Whatever Leo wants, Leo gets. So yeah, I mean, it's a 10. It's a perfect movie, especially for this. We have, technically 4 Hannibal Lecter movies to go to get through all of them. We have Michael Mann's Manhunter. We have Ridley Scott's Hannibal. We have Brett Ratner's Red Dragon, and then we have, of course, Hannibal Rising. So there's 4. There's 5 of these things altogether. 4 in the Hopkins continuity, and then Michael Mann's. All right, guys. So time to Atkinize this flick. Who would we put Tom Atkins as in this guy?
Hannibal.
Duh.
Anthony, you're out of here.
You're right. You got it. He would actually, to be honest, would be a great Jack Crawford.
Yeah.
Scott Glenn
I
is
can see
amazing
that.
in this movie, but
Mhm.
he would have been a good Jack Crawford too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would be good.
Yeah. So that'd be my guess. But like I said, Scott Glenn fucking terrific in this. Okay.
Yep.
Derek. It pains me to say this, but it's your pick. What are we gonna watch next week?
Man, let's see. I actually haven't figured it out yet.
No.
Good, we have time to influence him.
I don't know if you can influence me. Have you guys ever seen a movie called Milo?
Yeah.
Are you making a joke?
No, there's a movie about Milo. It's about a monster that comes out of this guy's anus.
It is.
Oh my gosh, Derek! Derek, don't try anything funny.
He comes out of this guy's anus. That's where most of Derek's movies come out.
God. I want to give X a little bit of time to breathe, so I'm gonna go with an original pick.
Okay.
And I don't think that you guys are gonna hate it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Kevin Bacon. And what's her name? Is it Elizabeth Shue?
Oh, yes.
We're gonna watch Hollow Man.
Okay. Hollow Man. Paul Verhoeven's Hollow Man. Nice. That's a good pick.
So random.
Where can we find Hollow Man, Derek?
I have no idea. I literally just thought of it.
I just watched
Don't
it
worry.
not too long ago too.
I will find it for you. It is available on YouTube, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and Fandango. So, I mean, all those places. Or you can, or if you own it on Blu-ray, I would prefer that. So yeah, next week, Paul Verhoeven's Hollow Man. When you said Kevin Bacon, I was straining my brain to see where I was like, I know he made a couple of like weird ones lately. And then as soon as you said Elizabeth Shue, Lydia and I both went, oh, we know where you're going with this. We know where you're going.
I was
Elizabeth
like, we already
Shue.
did Tremors.
Elizabeth Shue.
And Friday the 13th. So what other horror movies is Kevin Bacon in?
Yeah.
Right? Stir of Echoes. We did that one too.
Oh yeah,
Stir
we
of
did.
Echoes. Yeah.
Dang, we do a lot of Kevin Bacon movies.
This is like a Bacon cast at this point.
Do you guys remember the TBS thing, the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Oh yeah, that was a
we've talked about
Kevin
this
Bacon
before.
this person starred with this person, this person, and then they made it back to Kevin Bacon because he's done so many movies.
Yep.
Just in case there's anybody out there who didn't know what I was talking about.
Didn't understand the rules of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Within 6 movies, you can connect any actor to Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Yep, I remember. All right. Derek, you got a story for us.
I kind of do. This one, it just happened, but it was
Okay.
so adorable. All
Oh,
right,
an
so
adorable story. Okay.
yeah, it's nothing too crazy. So, I went to the store after I put Ellie down tonight, and I got groceries, and I came back, and I must have been loud in the kitchen. Either way, Clark wasn't asleep once he put him down, and I go upstairs, and he has clogged the toilet. It's like a giant ball of toilet paper in there. But he came out of his room, and he came over, and he like gave me a smile and gave me a big hug. And then, he's like, "Daddy, can I have a drink of water?" I'm like, "Okay, I see where this is going." Yeah, you can have a drink of water. So I gave him a drink of water. I'm like, "I'll tuck you in." So I take him in there, and he's wearing his robe. This kid's spoiled. But anyway, he goes to take his robe off because he climbed in bed, and I hear a doot, and I'm like, and he looks at me and smiles because he knows the jig is up. He had grabbed, remember the walkie-talkies that we bought for film shooting? So he had gotten one of those walkie-talkies and put it in his robe pocket. I don't know when. And as soon as it made that noise, he was like, and smiled at me like he knew the jig was up. And I'm like, "Give it here." And he pulled it out of his pocket, and I was like, "Has anyone ever tried to talk to you on this other than me? Because I've got the other one." And he's like, "Oh yeah, the Cookie Monster." And I was like, "Oh dear God." So then he went rambling on about this like Cookie Monster, and he makes the best cookies, and I'm like, "All right, go to bed." But it was really cute that he tried to that he had that. I'm sure he was sitting in his room like the entire time, like talking on it to
What if
nobody.
he
But
said? What if he said, "Yeah, this guy named Rusty Nail.
Rusty Nail
Are
and
you
Candy
communicating
Cane.
with me?"
I almost made a comment to him. I was like, "Did you talk to Rusty?"
Yeah.
Um, but after that, I did have a conversation. Like when he gave me the walkie-talkie, I was like, "Clark, I just want you to know, if anybody ever tries to talk to you on this, other than me or mommy, I want you to come and tell me that somebody's trying to talk to you, okay?" He's like, "Okay." I was like, "I don't want you to go outside because somebody asked you to come out on the walkie-talkie." He's
Ugh.
like, "Okay." I know. Well, because some kid like asked him to public schools, man. I don't know about this. He was like, "Yeah, this kid, he wanted me to stab him today with a pencil," and I'm like, "You didn't, right?" And he was like, "No." I was like, "We don't do that. We don't stab. And if somebody asks you to do that, you need to tell the teacher." I'm like, "Dear God."
He's setting your ass up.
I,
Setting you
I
up, son.
guess. Yeah, he's setting you up for the fall. Don't do it.
Yep. The trick.
But yeah,
It's a
somebody
trap.
asked him to stab him with a pencil. I'm like, man, I need to ask him who it is, and I'll rat that kid out in a heartbeat.
Man,
That's-
I actually had some walkie-talkies when I was a kid, and me and my cousin picked up someone and just like talked to a total stranger, like when we were kids,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Ironically, that is how my mom met my dad.
Oh my God.
True story. My grandpa had a walkie or a CB radio,
CB. Yeah.
and my dad just happened to be driving through because he was a truck driver, driving through and caught my mom and her sister, I think, trying to talk to people on the CB, and then years later, here we are.
Well, you are.
Ironically,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I meant me and my siblings, my
Yeah.
brother and my sister.
You didn't mean me
Yeah.
and Jamie.
Yeah.
No, I mean my dad was a straight up hoe, so you never know.
You know, luckily I do.
I do. I know.
We're
I
pretty
know
sure.
you guys know, but like Lydia, I'm not kidding. There are 3 of us. My dad had at least 9 kids that we know of. 3 of us in Michigan, 3 of us in Indiana, 1 in Georgia, 2 in Michigan, or 2 in Florida. He skipped Kentucky and Tennessee, and we all know why.
But ironically, that's where he chose to live.
Well, he lived in
That's where
Michigan.
all his family
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yeah. Michigan. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
I know what you were talking about.
Derek's Joey used to tell
Oh,
Derek that
call
his
me
dad was
the
the milkman.
milkman. Yeah, it's true.
That's mean.
I mean, it's more degrading to my mom than my dad because my dad would. At one point, this is an interesting story. At one point, so I've got two sisters that are like a month apart, like literally a month apart. And my dad thought it was a really great idea to move his girlfriend from Georgia into, like, we lived in a house that was like a split, and there were two apartments.
Oh, kind of like a duplex.
And he moved the lady into that other apartment. I'm like, how dumb are you? Like, they're not gonna top. My mom figured it out. To her
Oh.
Probably
credit,
did a lot of
I'm glad she
snoozing.
did. I know, but I mean, it's just like that was not the smart. I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe he like felt really low of my mom's IQ, but Jesus,
Your dad was awful. He did buy her a car and then take it away and give it to
he
his
did. Yeah.
girlfriend.
Yep. Bought her a car. I remember like my mom driving it around for a couple of weeks, and then it was gone. And then I remember a couple years later, I was in Michigan visiting him and his other family, and I'm like looking around at this car. I'm like, man, this car looks so familiar. And then it clicked, and I was like, you son of a bee. He took it from my mom and gave it to his girlfriend. Yep. Then he, he was a. I'm gonna tell this is a really terrible story.
Derek could never think of a story, and now they're just like flowing.
Now they're just coming, yeah.
All right, but this one I probably I won't remember, and it's so relevant to the side
Then tell it.
conversation we went into. Okay, so my brother was old enough to like remember my dad, right? I wasn't. I had like one memory of my dad before I was like 9.
Yeah, it's a great memory. Tell him what it is.
Oh, I remember like walking up to him and he was sitting on my grandparents' couch and he was like painting a license plate. Anyway,
Painting it like what?
well, he was like, I think they issued new license plates every, like before they did the like little stickers. It coincided with he was trying to just rip off the DMV.
Okay.
Is what he was trying to do.
Okay.
Poor
So,
Delight. No big deal.
I know. But so anyway, Jay was telling me the story, and he was like, "Yeah, I remembered. Dad came home one day, and he was like, he told my brother this, man. I'm wondering why my brother's all fucked up. He was like, son, I'm gonna quit trucking. I'm gonna stay here with you and your mom, and I'm done. I'm not gonna leave." My brother was like, "Man, I was so happy because like all my brother just loved my dad, and he was so happy." And the fucking next day, Jay gets up. I'm in a playpen, man. I don't remember any of this shit, but Jay gets up the next day and all my dad's stuff is gone. And my mom's like bawling her eyes out. And my brother was telling me, he was like, "Yeah, man, I just remember walking over to mom and like putting my hand on her shoulder and telling her it was going to be okay." The next day he left and we didn't see him for like years after that. Like he didn't come back.
Damn, Derek.
I
Yeah.
know. And like actually having kids, I'm sorry that this went like in a really like weird way, but like having kids has made me hate my dad even more. Because there's no way I could ever do that to my kid. Like even if something happened to my wife and I, there's no way that I would just be like, "Adios. I don't really care about you guys. I'll go do something else." But anyway, that perspective is really like put a damper on any feelings I ever had towards my dad. But anyway.
Wow. This party really died.
Yeah, it did.
Nice set of Hooters you got there.
It's like a therapy time because, Dr. Hannibal.
Yeah, Dr.
It does kind of fit
Dr.
that
Lucky.
way, yeah. Anytime my
Yep.
brother tells me that story, he told it to me like he just like breaks down. I know it like broke his heart.
Yeah, I bet it did. I had a similar feeling when you told us that we were gonna watch fucking Pooh Blended Honey. I felt like I wanted to leave and never come back as well.
You felt utterly abandoned.
Yeah, I
by
was abandoned in that moment. I was like, I
Yeah.
thought we were friends, man. All right, guys,
You
that
have
wraps up
betrayed
this
me.
edition of Screen Bloody Movies. Comment down below on your thoughts on Silence of the Lambs. What movies you want to see us do next, and if you have any heartbreaking stories about your father leaving you and never returning for years.
Yeah. What's your scariest childhood memory?
Yeah, we're gonna have a spin-off to this. It's called Scream Bloody Therapy, and we'll talk about our feelings.
I got a few stories for that.
Oh,
There you go.
God.
See,
Don't we
Lydia,
all?
this will
Don't
be
we all?
our new podcast coming to you soon.
Screen Bloody Therapy, which is a great name, by the way.
I do like that. That'll be our spin-off show.
Be your
Yeah.
spin-off show. So, like I said, comment down below on your thoughts on this film. And we are gearing up to shoot. We shoot in less than 2 months, so which is super exciting. We got all the ducks are in the row, so we'll show some set pictures when we're filming and share them on the podcast. So you'll get some updates, get some regular updates. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, don't forget to watch Hollow Man next week with Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Shue, directed by the great Paul Verhoeven. For Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.